Hey everybody, and welcome to the Creative Collector. So as you can see behind me here, I have Galactus finished. I had been working on this thing off and on for the past year and pretty consistently for like the past month and a half. So first and foremost, this is a file created by Wicked 3D, and I scaled it up to 180%. He stands about 4 feet 4 inches tall. That's from the base to the top of the Silver Surfer here. Now, I did this a little different than what the actual file is because the original file does not have the Silver Surfer on there. That is a separate file also by Wicked. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a little bit about what I did to create this beast. All right, so this isn't necessarily a paint tutorial. I'm going to go over some of the things that I used to create him, some of the paints that I've used, and I scaled Silver Surfer down to about a 1/10 scale. With Galactus, I wanted him kind of holding him in his hand. There's multiple switch outs for Galactus that you could get with a file. There's like a staff, he's holding a globe with some electricity around it and everything, but I wanted to do something a little different. And I'll also talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I did differently with this file compared to what most people have been doing with it. So let's go ahead and get into it. How about that? So once I got the first initial coat of paint on here, just wanted to see what the color is going to look like. Thought I'd better go ahead and attach Silver Surfer. So how I did this was, I actually had to crack open the bottom right here, so that way it would fit in the hand. And I used a little bit of this 5-minute quick cure epoxy right here. And I also used some of this UV resin I got from Michael's. I mean, you could use whatever you want, but this stuff in this dropper right here, just use this and a pen light to kind of help weld it in place. It's a little sloppy looking right now, but I'm going to clean this up, put some paint on it, and then we'll actually go ahead and primer Silver Surfer here. We're going to prime him black, and all this is going to be black. And then, yeah, and then we're going to go ahead and use the graphite powder. He's on there. He's pretty stable on the hand here. The head's all done. You've seen the head and everything. So I'm getting ready to apply the blue on here now. I'm going to airbrush some of this and hand paint the rest of it, especially down here on the skirts. And then clean up the base here. And this is going to get a total metallic finish here. And then I'll do some touch-ups on the Sentinel head. And then we'll move to detailing like the fire here. I'm still undecided what color I'm going to use, because I use like a light blue in the head for like the jewel and stuff like that. And then on the cosmic flames or cosmic waves here, I'll paint all this up and kind of make it look a little cosmic looking. So yeah, it's coming along. So yeah, this thing is taking probably a good month just to fill and prime and sand, and then sand some more, prime some more, sand some more. I mean, you get it. But that's why it's been so long since I posted a video. I'm really trying to get this done because I started on this thing last year, and I just probably got in way over my head in printing this thing. But I'm going to go through with it. I said that I wasn't going to do any more videos until I finish this one, and that's what I'm going to do. So I hope you guys appreciate it and everything like that, and I hope it turns out well. So yeah, let's get back to it. So the glue and the resin seem to be holding this pretty well. It's definitely not going anywhere. Silver Surfer's on his board. He is not going anywhere. So yeah, it's pretty stable. So I think the next thing I'm getting ready to do is primer and paint it. I'll go ahead and start adding more paint to the body here and start working on the blue. All right, guys. So I got a little bit of the blue on here just to see what it looks like. This is the blue I'm going to go with. This is a mix of a basic blue pearlized Createx and a pearlized white Createx as well. So you have to forgive me, I'm a little out of breath here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to block this out a little bit more. Let me back up a little bit here with the camera. So I'm going to block this out a little bit more, and then the rest of it is going to have to be hand painted. And then for Silver Surfer, what I did was I used a pearlized black purple mix and that's for the base. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over with the graphite powder. I'm going to do that at the very end because I have to take this outside. That stuff is super messy, and it's going to create just a huge mess. I got some details to do on the helmet, on the face, and then a lot of detail work. Man, this is a lot of work here. So far, I've probably used about 6 bottles of purple, white, and blue Createx bottles, and these bottles are like this size here. They're not like the little vials like you see for the Vallejo. So this is I've used about 6 bottles of this right here just in the mix alone, and then I use my holographic, or I'm sorry, my color changing purple on the base as well. So still a lot of work to do. So yeah, guys, man, it's moving slowly, but it's going, and this is probably the toughest part right here. I'm not wearing my hat because it's about 93 degrees outside, and I'm in my paint room, and my heating and air is not totally fixed yet, so it's hot, and but I'm working through it, getting a lot of stuff done here. It's just a matter of you know, at this point, painting and getting the blocking out done, the blocking done on the Galactus itself, and then what I aim to do is there's going to be a lot of hand painting on this because I am not masking this thing down. So there's a lot of progress, but there's still a lot to do. So yeah, my finger is like turning purple, and that's not just from the paint. It's like super red right now and sore just from holding down the trigger on the airbrush. I mean, if you guys have done any significant amount of painting, then you know what I'm talking about. So spending hours at a time holding the airbrush down with that, it's just, my fingers are so sore right now. Okay, so the next thing I'm getting ready to do is start on the detail work on the blue, on the body and the skirt, and all the fine lines and everything on there. So I mixed up a half pearlized blue and pearlized white. Got this blue that you see behind me. It's fairly light blue, really good color. And then I'm going to go through and hit all the detail work. The bad thing about it is when you're hand brushing pearlized paints, it takes multiple coats. Nothing goes on with good coverage when you first coat. I've actually put the first coat on some of the stuff, but now I'm getting ready to go through and do that again. So once we get done with all of that, then we're just about there. I'll do a little bit more airbrushing on some of the shading and some of the highlights on the purple, yeah, we'll just kind of work from there. Alright, so essentially I got my color in my cup right here, and no, I'm not wearing my hat because that'll get in the way of this. And I'm just going to go through and hand brush this stuff in here. I got my spectacles on so I can get up close and see a lot of the detail work, or the details of the lines, make sure I don't totally screw them up. So so far I've got 2 coats on everything, and it's still not fully covering. I figured by the 3rd coat we should be good. Some of it's covering up now with the 3rd coat. So what I'll do is I'll go through all of this, and then once we have the blue applied, then I'll go back through with the lighter purple with the airbrush and hit on some of the highlights and stuff. And then I'm going to do a little bit of black in the airbrush to go around for some of the indentions and some of the cracks and crevices and stuff, and get a little bit of shading. And I'm actually thinking about doing some battle damage on Galactus. I know that's not typical, but I think it would really look pretty cool. Okay, so on the base here, I did a steel and gunmetal gray mix over the gray primer, and I did a little bit of spot lacquer so I could get a gritty texture here on most of it. I really want this thing to look distressed and destroyed, because after all, this Celestial here was decapitated, his planet probably destroyed and everything, so I want it to look really, really weathered. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some copper and bronze accents on here, do some chrome chipping, make it look just even more weathered, do a little bit of rust areas and stuff, kind of dirty it up with some browns and some different deep grays and everything. And then I'm going to seal it with a satin Krylon Color Max. But I've actually used, on this base alone, I've used like 3 of these jars of Tamiya right here alone, and then I've used pretty much a tube of my golden silver fine right here iridescent, and then like I said, I spot lacquered it to get a little bit of a rise off of the finish here, not so smooth, and get it real gritty and everything. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put this black wash on here, and then I'm probably going to seal it, and then I'm going to start on the details of the Celestial. I'm going to go ahead and paint some stuff into here, the eyes and different areas of it. That way it doesn't look so just flat looking, and just kind of doctor him up a little bit. And then I'll put Galactus on here, and we'll do some it's just some minor details and stuff on here. The base should be done, and then we'll get to finishing up the last part of Galactus. Okay, so what I am doing now is I've used this just cheap acrylic craft paint. I watered it down really, really good. Come up with this kind of consistency right here. And then what I'm doing now is I'm applying it pretty much to the all over, and then I mean you can apply it pretty liberally, and trying to make sure I get in all the seams and the grooves and everything like that. And then what I'll do is I'll take a cloth or a paper towel, you could use a sponge if you want, and I'll go back in and dab some of that up there, and it gives a deep distress sort of look. You still have a little bit of the metal coming through, but it looks worn, it looks weathered, and it almost does a whole shading effect for you. So I'm going to do that. It's going to take probably a good couple of hours or so to do on this piece right here, but you want to make sure that you get into the grooves here, get onto all the recesses, and make a lot of contrast points on this thing. So once I do that, I will probably go back and I may do a little bit of dry brushing over the top of it first before I seal it, but more than likely what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll seal it, and then we'll probably apply the dry brushing. But see how that gets in all of the recesses pretty dark there. It makes it just look worn. It's really, really cool effect. It's very simple to do. Okay, so we got most of the details worked out on the body here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the flame, smoke, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to do this in a very light fluorescent green base, and then I'm going to do some black shading. So it's going to be a green and black type of smoke on here, and that'll kind of match. I just tested the eye on the Celestial, and so it'll kind of match that a little bit. So once we get done with that, then it's moving on to Silver Surfer. What I'm going to do on Silver Surfer is I'm going to do graphite powder all the way through it, but I'm not going to do this part yet. So I'm going to do the base up here, and then I'm going to seal it with a gloss. Now what that's going to do is it's going to turn that graphite powder to a black color, and it's going to go over this purple, so you'll see a little bit of that out. And then once I get done with that, then I'll just do the graphite powder on the Silver Surfer, and then I'll do like some stars and different types of detailing inside here, and then we'll seal the whole model once we attach the head. I have to go outside to do that, and it's very hot and humid, so I'm not sure if we're going to get it done today, but after that, Galactus will be done. Alrighty, and the last thing that I will do is use this graphite powder right here, if I can get a little close-up shot of it. I'll use this right here on the Silver Surfer, and the basic way to do that is just take a brush and brush it on there, and then what we'll do is we'll buff it out. I'll actually have a speed buffer on one of my Dremels, and I'll actually go ahead and shine this up real nice and neat and everything, and add some details, and we'll be all done. If you do use this stuff, make sure you do wear gloves. It is messy. Use an old brush to use it on. Make sure you have something around you to clean up, or something for this stuff to fall on. That way you don't get it all over your floor. Okay, so just a few seconds into this, and the gloss purple on there is a bust. I'm actually going to have to go back and paint that a gloss black in order to get that sheen that I'm looking for, because it's just not coming through. It still looks like it's a chromium type purple, and that's not what I'm looking for. So, all right, back to the drawing board on this one. Okay, so this is the first pass on Silver Surfer. Yeah, I'm not too happy with it. Not enough sheen. The figure is okay. The board, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and paint like a chromium silver type color. This right here is going to work out pretty good. But I think Silver Surfer himself, I think he needs a little tweaking. I'm going to put another coat on it and see if that helps out. And if not, then yeah, we'll kind of make adjustments from there. I want him to be the Silver. So like I said earlier, these files are from Wicked 3D. You can find the guys in the link below in the description. They are on Instagram and Facebook. So a little bit of background on this figure here. I sized this up at 180%. Most of what you see is FDM, it's filament. The only parts that are actual resin are the head, the arms, and the Silver Surfer. So I used the Creality CR10 to create all of the filament pieces. It was an old printer that I've had forever and a day, but it did the trick. So the resin pieces of it, I pretty much printed those on the Lenant deck printer. That was pretty much the only one that had the Z-axis height that I could actually get those pieces of the head and the ears in one piece on the printer and print those out. Now, as far as materials that I used on the statue, I used mainly Createx pearlized paints and Testors Aztec paints, which unfortunately are discontinued now, but I picked some of those up on clearance like a few years ago, and definitely I'll put them to the test. And as far as filament, I really couldn't tell you because I used the cheapest stuff available out there on Amazon. It took about 9 spools of filament. And as far as resin, it took about 2,000 grams or 2 kilograms or 2 bottles of resin, and I used Anycubic standard gray resin for that. And if you're wondering about the glue that I used, and I used quite a bit, I actually used this 5-minute epoxy here from BSI Industries, and I used like 4 of these. So at $20 a pop, you do the math. All right, so now that we're back, take a look at some of the things that I did here a little up close. It is far from perfect, guys, but I tell you, when you're working with FDM, it is damn near impossible to get everything smooth like resin. And if I ever have to do a piece like this again, I will probably do more resin pieces than FDM pieces. Now, like I said earlier, what is resin? Okay, the head is resin. The hands, the arms are resin on this side, and the flames, or whatever you want to call it. The rest of it is all FDM. And also the Silver Surfer here is also a resin. Now on Silver Surfer, what I did was I originally started out with the graphite powder, and that didn't work out very well for me. So I decided to use a little bit of mix of silver and the Molotow Chrome silver, and this is what I come up with, and I'm pretty satisfied with it. I wanted it more of a silver rather than a chrome, but you know, it just kind of works out this way. But I think it looks pretty good. So the Celestial head, I didn't do too much with it. I really wanted a weathered and kind of distressed type of base, and that's what I was shooting for. I wanted it to look really, really damaged and destroyed, because that's what Galactus does. And As far as sealer, I used a satin sealer from Krylon Color Max on this, and it didn't give too much of a shine, but it gave a little bit of a sheen, and it really made those colors pop out. So it turns out pretty good. I used a little bit of gold accents and stuff here and there. I did use the airbrush and airbrushing a little black and stuff. I did do a little bit of weathering on here. I didn't want Galactus to be too clean. I wanted him to look like he'd been, in a little bit of a battle. I don't think that anyone in the Marvel universe comes out of a battle unscathed. So as far as the color over here, I used a fluorescent lime green, a little bit of orange, a little bit of white, and deep shaded it with some black. That's just kind of what I come up with, and I'm pretty satisfied with it. So the back here, again, pretty detailed file from Wicked, and yeah, it's pretty neat. And I'll tell you, this was a lot of work to do, but the work paid off, I think. I think the base turned out really good. I put some rust splatters on there, some copper accents and stuff. I did some chipping as far as distressing to make it look a little bit battle worn, or however you want to say it. And again, I continued that weathering on the back of Galactus up there on his little whatever thing that is, his little mechanics there. Silver Surfer, let's take a closer look at him. So for Silver Surfer here, I actually downsized this to about 1/10 scale. And I used the base from Wicked. I actually carved it out with my Dremel so it would fit into the hand. And I actually used the 5-minute epoxy to kind of build that up into the hand there. Now the base itself, I broke off pieces from it and fitted into their different directions and everything, so it would look a little bit more aesthetic, pleasing. I used the Molotov Chrome, and I used the shimmery silver from Tamiya on the Surfer itself, since the graphite powder didn't work out too well. But yeah, there was a switch out thing for the Surfer that had the Infinity Gauntlet and Thor's hammer. I opted out for those. I just wanted just a plain Surfer, and then filled the seam lines up and primered it, and then went from there. So if you've seen some of the old photos, I actually was going to do the switch out with the staff, and it didn't work out that way. I actually had to totally chop this hand off and put this hand on instead. And I actually like it better than the staff. The staff was kind of, it was really obtrusive, and I just really didn't dig it too much, but I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that build. Again, I am sorry for the absence off YouTube. It's been a while since I posted any content, but this beast of a statue here is the reason why for that. I was committed to getting it done. I didn't want to be distracted with other videos and stuff because I have such a backlog, and I've been wanting to get this piece done for quite some time for you guys, and I just decided to bite the bullet and just do it. So now that I have that out of the way, I have a lot of content to catch up on. I've got a lot of very cool reviews coming up here. Got some products that you guys are going to want to tune into. Stay tuned. And also, I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon members. Without them, again, I probably wouldn't be able to do these videos. But if you want to become a Patreon member, check out the link below in the description. And we do have a couple of new members this week. Let's find out who we got. Gokun DMR, Norman, and Jake Klein. Thank you guys so much for being new members of the Patreon. And again, if you want to become a member of the Patreon and support the channel that way, the link is below in the description. Of course, you can also support the channel just by simply watching the videos and sharing it with your friends. And don't forget to go over to the store and check out some of the new merch. So that is all for now, everyone. I leave you with some of those still shots I was telling you about. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay safe out there. Get out and create something. Print, prep, paint, repeat. And until the next video, and there will be one soon, we'll see you. So the only other problem I have is, where the heck am I going to put this thing? You can't sit on this table forever. Never think these things through when I put these big ass statues.